Turkey, the land beneath the half moon. Asia Minor, famous ancient cities, natural beauty, and Ottoman splendor. Stone witnesses of a glorious past. We begin our journey in Istanbul, golden gateway to the Orient. This city was once the center of the old world and still reflects 2.5 centuries of history. Today, this turbulent metropolis on the Bosphorus is Europe's connection with Asia Minor. The Turkish capital once had sonorous names such as Constantinople under Byzance. This gateway between Europe and Asia is not only the biggest city in Turkey, but also a melting pot of cultures. And it's worth more than just a flying visit. It must be experienced to the full. It's a fascinating world between Occident and Orient. Greek colony, Roman imperial city, and capital of the Ottoman Empire, Istanbul is full of colorful and dramatic history. Here, Oriental charm unites with a Western way of life. On the banks of the Bosphorus, next to the Galata Bridge, there's a great deal of fresh fish for sale. And following time-honored tradition, water sellers in colorful traditional costume offering drinking water for sale. On the opposite side of the Galata Bridge, on the banks of the Golden Horn, is the Yeni Cami Mosque, with a large number of domes and minarets built one on top of the other, plus a number of precious glass windows. The Grande Basara is a city within a city. Through a large gate there is a labyrinth of corridors that were built over many centuries. This enclosed market contains more than 4,000 shops within its seemingly endless halls, and it's possible to buy almost anything here. A vivid world full of aromas of the Orient. Here the city is alive. Everything revolves around selling, and it's a traffic-free zone. The 6 slender minarets of the Sultan Ahmet Mosque rise up proudly into the sky and dominate Istanbul's silhouette, a masterpiece of Islamic architecture. This building, with its stepped domes and huge proportions, is an impressive sight. Its more popular name, the Blue Mosque, was derived from its covering of 21,000 valuable blue wall tiles from Iznik. Eight years in construction, the Blue Mosque was consecrated in 1617. It was then Istanbul's brand new religious symbol. Close by is another of the city's impressive landmarks, the Hagia Sophia. There are several legends about this building and its creator, Constantine. Its dome and walls were once covered with golden mosaics that made the building a unique historical monument. In 1453, one of the world's most extraordinary churches was transformed into a mosque by Sultan Mehmet, and it is now an impressive museum. The oval dome is its center. Restored mosaics that depict Jesus are the highlight of each and every sightseeing tour. The Yerebatan cistern once provided Constantinople with its water supply. Emperor Justinian had this subterranean reservoir built. It contains 80,000 cubic meters of water. This mighty gate is the entrance to the splendid world of the Turkish sultans. Topkapi, the former center of power of the Ottoman Empire. The third court leads to the harem, the living quarters of the women and concubines. The amazing wealth of the Ottoman monarchs is still evident today, evidence of the power and influence of the sultans. A number of earthquakes and fires destroyed many sections of the palace, but much of it can still be visited today. On the city's third hill and visible from all directions is the Süleyman Camii, the most beautiful mosque in Istanbul and the city's largest Osmanic building complex. This aqueduct was most certainly in use prior to the Ottoman Empire, and it's one of the city's most impressive achievements. For 1,000 years, the ancient Theodosian walled Sur fended off all those who attacked the city, from the Marmara Sea to the Golden Horn. Yerikule, the castle of 7 towers, formed part of the city's fortifications. The fortress, with its large inner courtyard, was built according to the most up-to-date specifications that the 15th century had to offer. Of its buildings, only the remains of a mosque have survived. Markets are still held in front of the old city wall as in bygone times. Even the construction of a new street has not put an end to this traditional attraction. Later, the Byzantine emperors had their palaces built in close proximity to the wall. Beyond the city wall, at the end of the Golden Horn, is a destination for Islamic pilgrims. The mosque in the picturesque village of Eyüp contains the grave of the highly revered Abu Ayyub al-Ansari, the color-bearer of the Prophet Muhammad. Only after they've completed the customary washing ceremony are the men allowed to enter this religious place of pilgrimage. The religious connection to Allah's Prophet. On the magnificent banks of the Bosphorus, the Dolmabahce Palace shines out in all of its ancient splendor. Solemnly guarded by a clock tower and a contingent of soldiers. Dolmabahce is the city's third largest sultan's palace. Istanbul's regal buildings are the most beautiful heritage of Osmanic architecture. The magnificent spacious entrance hall is similar to the architecture of the Paris Opera House, and its spacious, high-ceilinged rooms indicate the power of the Sultan. In the middle of the 19th century, it was not considered to be fashionable to reside in the Topkapi Sarayı. Thus, Sultan Abdülmecit ordered the finest architects to build this new palace. They created beauty and splendor, the luxury of 1,001 nights. Sultan Abdülmecit had a mosque built on the European side of the Bosphorus. It was built on the banks so that he could approach the mosque by boat. Today, there's a new community center here. High above the narrower section of the Bosphorus is the mighty fortified complex of Rumeli Hisari, the river's former military checkpoint. But after the fall of Constantinople, the fortress lost its strategic importance. Istanbul is still a melting pot of culture and religion, with a captivating allure and an atmosphere of exotic mystique. A giant wooden horse guards the entrance to archaeological excavations in Troy. No ancient place in Turkey is as well known as Troy. If only it had survived in good enough condition, we'd be able to marvel at its former size and glory. What occurred here more than 3,000 years ago was described by Homer in the Iliad. According to Greek legend, Paris, son of Priamus, abducted Helen, the most beautiful woman in the world and wife of the Spartan king Menelaus. This led to a 10-year war and ended with the Greeks defeating the Trojans. Due to the guile of Odysseus. Near to the west coast of Turkey, situated between Troy and Ephesus and set in all its glory, is one of the most famous and well-preserved ancient cities of this region, Pergamon. This, in the Hellenic era, was an ancient cosmopolitan city, the traces of which are still visible today. After the death of Alexander the Great, his former general and battle companion Lysimachos ruled over Western Asia Minor as King of Thrace. Pergamon is still an impressive demonstration of the power, knowledge and wealth of that time. Further south, just inland of the Mediterranean coast, is the ruined city of Ephesus. It was a place of the superlative, with show fights and fire eaters. Next, we journey into the past. In ancient times, Ephesus was one of the most important cities in Asia Minor. 1200 years before Christ, Ionic Greeks established their first settlement on Korissos Hill, next to the ancient shrine of Cybele. Nevertheless, today, sufficient structures have survived to provide a good impression of what it was like to live here 2,000 years ago. In the most important of the 7 cities of the Apocalypse. Although Ephesus eventually fell into decay, unlike other cities of antiquity, it has not been lost forever. In the highlands of western Turkey is the ancient city of Hierapolis, above the famous terraces of Pamukkale. In 190 BC, King Eumenes II of Pergamon built the city of Hierapolis, most probably as a fortress on the wide Travertine Plateau. In 133 BC, the city became ruled by Rome, and following powerful earthquake was rebuilt both upwards and outwards with theatres, temples and other splendid buildings. Next followed the high season of Hierapolis, and through its healing thermal waters it became a popular spa. It was also used as a health spa by the Romans. These hot springs have their source in the hills. They form an extraordinary miracle of nature that was well known in antiquity. The white terraces of Pamukkale. In summer, the water glimmers turquoise, and in winter clouds of steam rise from the pools to produce the effect of a frozen waterfall. The reason for the origin of this bizarre landscape is the steaming hot water, rich in calcium, that flows from the higher-lying geothermal mountain springs. In this famous spring pool of ancient times, it is still possible to bathe in holy water. Marmaris is situated on the Turkish Riviera. It was well protected by a medieval fortress. In 1522, Sultan Suleiman the Splendid enlarged the small castle of the former Roman occupying power as he wished to conquer the island of Rhodes. In front of the fortress is a new marina that provides moorings for around 600 boats. The bay is a popular boating destination. Marmaris is often compared with the Côte d'Azur. From here there are excursion trips along the Turkish Aegean coast. Soon a suitable boat is selected and the trip is about to begin. The blue coastline features several bays, and the sun shines almost all of the time, just like paradise. Wild, romantic nature alternates with wonderful beaches. We stop and can dive and swim in the crystal clear water close to the rocky shore. On board, there's sunbathing and relaxation. The boat returns with its satisfied passengers. And as though it had been requested, a romantic sunset crowns the blue journey. Further south on the Lycian coast is Fethiye. Within a steep rock wall above the town are graves that date back to the 6th to the 4th centuries BC. The Lycians believed that bird demons carried the dead to heaven, and the grave was meant to resemble the former home of the deceased. This wonderful natural beach and its crystal clear water and hidden bays is one of the most beautiful in the world. Therefore, it's hardly surprising that this region is now one of Turkey's most popular tourist destinations. Only 8 kilometers southwest of Fethiye is Kayaköy, a ghost town amid a rocky valley, once inhabited by people of Greek origin. The abandoned stone buildings look like something from a movie set, clinging to the steep slopes. After the First World War, the Greeks had to leave the town in order to fulfill the Lausanne Treaty. Since then, the buildings have been empty. With its almost 3,500 ruined buildings, Kayaköy has become a museum village and has been designated as a protected monument by UNESCO. The Lycians were close to the ancient Greeks, but nevertheless lived in autonomous cities and were united by an alliance known as the Lycian League. Together they shared a shrine, the Letoon of Xanthos, with the mother god Leto as the main deity. According to legend, she arrived at this place following the birth of her godchildren. The base of the pillars and mosaic ruins of her 3 temples are still visible. The The astonishing legacy of this ancient people is its tombs, and a Roman theatre was built in the middle of the Lycian necropolis. Close by, and also located on the South Aegean coast of today's western Turkey, is the ancient town of Xanthos. The ruins are the result of a transient history with evidence to suggest Lycian, Hellenic, Roman and Byzantine origin. Xanthos was once the most powerful city in the center of Lycia, located on the southern tip of the Xanthos Delta on a hill of important strategic value. In 43 AD, the independent Lycia became part of the Roman province of Lycia, but the myth of Xanthos remained. Again, further south is Kas, situated on the steep slopes of the Taurus Mountains that extend to the Mediterranean coast. This former fishing village has been spared from mass tourism and has managed to retain its natural atmosphere with narrow alleys and buildings with wooden balconies. The village looks as though it's been carved into the rock, and its well-preserved Greek-Roman theatre is a reminder of ancient times. Along with its walls, the coast is popular with bathers. The remains of the harbour town of Olympos that was founded in the 3rd century BC are partly overgrown by vegetation. It's been neglected for some time. A huge temple gate is still recognizable, but nature has reclaimed most of the town. A tranquil scene. Olympos extends from the coast into a valley along the banks of a creek. Its ruins lie hidden in a forest, which makes it all the more intriguing. Olympos was also an influential member of the Lycian alliance, but little is known of the political past of the Lycians, and soon they fell into oblivion. Antalya is the main entrance to the Turkish Riviera. It was founded in 158 BC by King Attilos II of Pergamon and was an important harbour. Antalya has had a checkered history. Various rulers attacked the town while struggling for power. In Byzantine times, it was a centre of Christianity. After the Fourth Crusade, the Knights of St. John came to power, until finally in the 14th century the Ottomans ruled over the coastal region. Today, the picturesque harbour in front of the old city wall attracts tourists from all over the world. Now it's tourists who rule this great historic town. Close to Antalya are various waterfalls in various sections. The Kursunlu waterfall is particularly impressive. Secure wooden pathways lead through the area and make it possible to approach the waterfalls at close quarters. The view is quite magnificent. Water comes from everywhere and then flows as one until it is again divided and plunges down to the next level. Everywhere flows clear, light, turquoise-coloured water that is cool and tempting to drink. Close to the waterfalls is the town of Perga, where near to the Roman theatre are several stone artifacts. Each day, visitors come to see the impressive ruins of the stadium, colonnade, acropolis, thermal baths and city gates. The Agora, the town's market square and meeting place, has been reconstructed by archaeologists. Its collapsed columns have also been rebuilt. The town enjoyed its last high season during Roman rule, but was subsequently abandoned. Side is also a popular Turkish Riviera resort. It has a history spanning 3,500 years. The huge theatre and the ruins of Agora, colonnade and nymphaeum indicate the former wealth of this ancient trading town. Side also had its economic high season while under Roman rule. But when the Arabs began hostilities, the old town was abandoned. The ruins are situated on the beach, on which camels wait patiently for their next passengers. As one of the most important cities of the Pamphylian region in Asia Minor, Aspendos was founded by Greek settlers from Argos and was allied with Persia. It was conquered by Alexander the Great, followed by Pergamon, and finally Rome. However, the city's shining history eventually came to an end when the river silted up. The city's present-day fame is due to a splendid building that was built under the rule of the Emperor Antonius Pius, the most well-preserved theatre in Asia Minor. With 40 rows of seats that accommodated 15,000 spectators, and a 30-metre-high rear wall that served as a coulisse. In central Anatolia, within the heart of Turkey, is a remarkable and captivating landscape: Cappadocia. The starting point of many journeys into this wonderful natural landscape is the small town of Urgup, that is well known for its fine vineyards and quality of life. In the nearby village of Kavusin are the remains of several old buildings, the result of the great earthquake of 1939. The entire mountain slope was settled with buildings and caves of tough stone. A new village was built at the bottom of the valley, but now only a splendid view remains. Prior to the arrival of the settlers, monks carved the soft, tough rock and created the famous rock churches. "5 million years ago, two volcanoes split apart and spewed their fiery lava and ash clouds into the air. Glowing hot lava filled the valleys and formed a plateau. The ejected material gradually cooled. Frost, heat, wind and rain have over millions of years shaped the soft, tough rock into a bizarre natural landscape. In the valley of Zelve, one of the caves features a mill and millstone, a definite sign of life hidden amid this remote area. In 1950, the village was evacuated by the government and its inhabitants were settled elsewhere. It was far too dangerous to live here. The most practical way in which to explore this area is on horseback. The Valley of Monks is known for some of the largest and most beautiful fairy chimneys in Cappadocia. And after a short time, the first stone giants come into view. Most who come here are attracted by an architecturally remarkable hermitage located within the tuff, the St. Simeon's Cone. In the late afternoon, when the setting sun bathes the tough stone in a warm glow, the fantastic rock formations in the Valley of Roses are at their most beautiful. A view that was surely much appreciated by the first religious hermits who settled here. Sufism is common in Cappadocia, and dancing dervishes practice their mystique ritual here. Chosen believers whirl round and transport themselves into an ecstatic, trance-like condition in order to receive divine favor. In the 13th century, the mystic and philosopher Hacı Bektaş came from Persia over Mecca to this place and founded the Bektashi Dervish order. His grave is highly revered. He preached a sensitive variation of Islam, with equal status given to men and women, human kindness, tolerance, and divine love. Görem is one of the oldest settlements in this area. Today, some of its inhabitants live in rock buildings and use rock chambers for storage. For the older village inhabitants, the way of life here has hardly changed, although tourism has inevitably made its mark. Since 1991, Görem has been the starting point for the region's balloon safaris. At first, only a handful of balloons flew here, but today they are an increasingly popular attraction. Balloon safaris provide a good insight into what lies below. From here, the scenery and its strange rock formations look even more unreal, a veritable miracle of nature. Each journey is an adventure that touches the very soul. The entire Görem Valley is famous for its church caves that many centuries ago were dug into the soft tuff by early Christians who settled in this remote landscape. In the 4th century, a Greek Orthodox place of pilgrimage developed here under the influence of Byzantine monks. Various priests, hermits and nuns founded monasteries. At the upper end of the valley is the Karanik Church and its magnificent biblical frescoes. And also the Tokali Church, the largest rock-built church of this region. Sword Valley, Guraderi Varisi, also contained human settlements, but today it is grazing horses that pervade the scene, much to the surprise of the visitors. Settlers, including Christians, built churches inside the tough rock. Collapsed external walls allow a glimpse into the past. These early Christian caves were once well camouflaged, with very subtle entrances. Kuchizar is famous for its castle mountain. This fortress is a complex of two huge rocks that were carved out to provide shelter. The steep slope below contains many tough houses that replaced the original cave dwellings that were located on the other side. Because the tough stone is easily worked, the houses are artistically decorated. Ascending the fortress is a wonderful adventure, and the view is fabulous. The Turks love music and dance. They have rhythm in their blood. Traditional dances progress in a circle that emphasizes harmony. Women often wear veils and large trousers, influenced by the Ottoman tradition. The men like to dance acrobatically. Belly dancing is also included. The buildings of Mustafa Pasha differ in architecture and appearance from those that are typical of this region. Both architecture and decoration are of fine quality. The striking difference is easily explained. During the Ottoman Empire, Greek Christians settled here. Later came the Turks, but they destroyed both the domestic buildings and the churches. Soganli Vadisi was, after Gorem, the second most important center of Cappadocian monastic life. Most of the mystic rock churches and monasteries originated between the 9th and the 13th centuries. From within this surreal, fissured landscape, unexpected treasures of Christian Byzantine art are to be found. There are around 36 subterranean towns in Cappadocia. Derinkuyu is the most famous. A labyrinth of corridors and chambers, 8 floors deep. A hideaway with ventilation and water from a well. The small village of Gusulyat is well protected within a deep valley. This is the church of Holy Gregorius, who introduced the Gregorian calendar. Ilara Gorge is one of the most beautiful locations of this region. At the bottom of the valley, the Melendis River winds its way and cave churches lie hidden within the canyon's walls. Cappadocia is, in effect, a fascinating work of art created almost entirely by Mother Nature. A tireless artist who is constantly creative. Everything here is subject to constant transformation, each day, each minute, each moment. A true wonder of nature. Ankara, capital of the Republic of Turkey, this once Anatolian provincial backwater, is today one of the country's most modern cities. A vibrant world metropolis. In a northerly direction and situated on a hill, its splendor can be seen from afar. The biggest mosque in Turkey, Kocatepe Camii. The Kocatepe Mosque is both a symbol of the devoutness of the Turkish people, as well as being an important center of communication for the entire city. Still further towards the northern area of the city, the botanical gardens are located in a narrow valley, along which snuggles the hills of Yukarı Aranci. From a modern watchtower, the view curves over the roofs of the city, which played an important role in the Turkish War of Independence and prevented the partition of the nation. The Multepe Camii, a mosque inaugurated in 1959, is also situated in the new city. It was financed by the local people. Ankara's old town is overlooked by a castle mound upon which the city's citadel extends above the pinnacle. The city's oldest settlement area. The slope of the hill in front of the citadel is completely covered with hecakondas, a mass of quickly constructed buildings which at first only consisted of walls and a roof. Also to be found here is one of the city's few surviving timber-pillared religious buildings. The Hisa Kapisi is the main external gate of the castle complex. From here, one can enter the interior of the fortress. It was inhabited in Osman times and was for many years a poverty-stricken neighborhood. From the main castle, as soon becomes apparent, this place was chosen for its marvelous strategic location, an invincible structure from which to defend the city. Just beyond the main gate is the castle's oldest mosque. According to the inscriptions, this religious building was built in 1178. A little further along the castle walls is the Museum of Anatolian Civilization. The Hittite Museum provides a fascinating insight into the ancient history of the Anatolians. At the bottom of the old town is the great Gençlik Parki, with an artificial lake, entertainment park and sports stadium. The memorial to the victorious on Ulus Square features Ataturk mounted high on a horse. Ankara, Turkey's capital city, is full of contradictions. And yet it is the extraordinary charm of this remarkable metropolis that makes everything make sense. Around 150 kilometers east of the Turkish capital of Ankara, in the highlands of Anatolia, was the heart of the once powerful Hittite Empire. This vast hill-covered terrain was well protected and only accessible by way of a few gates. The architects fully understood the region's topography, and so what was necessary to defend the city. Hattusas originated in around 1600 BC. The Hittite Empire stretched across Anatolia and the northern part of what is now Syria. Based on the demands of Labana Hattusili I, expansion politics led from here in a southerly direction. On the eastern edge of central Anatolia, we visit the town of Divriği, once the scene of much hostility and devastation, but now containing the fascinating remains of Seljukian architecture. The old mosque and adjoining hospital was built in 1228 at the command of Emir Ahmed Shah, and it's a World Heritage Site. Its fabulous vault construction, imaginative decor of its facades and towers and domes demonstrate the masterly architecture of the Turkish Middle Ages. Today, the town's economy is derived from the mining of iron ore. Now we have reached eastern Turkey, land of the Kurds, a somewhat rugged area that geographically forms part of Mesopotamia. In the high rock walls, there are many caves that date back to ancient times, but that today are unused. nearby town of Mardin contains Syrian Orthodox churches and a Kurdish madrasa. In the Middle Ages, there were 4 bishop seats and 80 monasteries here. And Midyat was then considered to be as important as Mount Athos of the Syrian Orthodox religion. In the nearby Hasankeyf, there are abandoned caves, the ruins of various cultures and some of the oldest settlements known to man. The picturesque town of Hasankeyf lies on the river Tigris. The 4 stone figures in the water are the remains of a bridge that dates back to the 12th century. The Romans founded a border post here that became the capital of the Kurd Artukid dynasty. Later followed the Mongols and the Ottomans. Some years ago, the town was at the center of some controversy as it was planned that the Tigris be dammed, the consequence of which would have meant that the whole of Hasankeyf would have been flooded. The submersion of this culturally important region would have been a disaster. Further north on the mountain plateau of the Nemrudagi, in the 19th century, an ancient treasure was discovered that had lain hidden for many years. The monumental burial place of a king. In the 1st century BC, at more than 2,000 meters above sea level, King Antiochus of Commagene had a tomb complex here and surrounded it with the images of various animal deities. The religion founded by the king was meant to unite both Persian and Greek mythology, with him as a god. This place was to serve as his heavenly throne. A large monument of an insignificant king who believed himself to be immortal. In the extreme east is Turkey's largest inland lake, Van Lake, one of the highest lying lakes on Earth. On Akdamar Island, the Holy Cross Church was built, whose architecture is based on a design that was developed in Armenia several centuries ago. Until the 11th century, this region was the border between the Byzantine realm, with its capital at Constantinople, and the Seljukian realm at its capital of Isfahan. When Byzantium decided to reconquer Armenia, the Seljukians succeeded with their mounted army and penetrated further west. Next we travel north along the eastern border region to Armenia and to the ruined town of Ani that had its high season under the rule of the Bagratidin dynasty. The former Armenian capital is situated on a plateau surrounded by a deep canyon in which the Akurian River flows. This marks the border. Ani was called the town of 1101 churches, but only a few survived various hostilities and earthquakes. Those that remain are not in good condition. The cathedral has lost part of its roof, but the rest is in good repair. Over the course of time, this sacred building was transformed into a mosque, and then reverted to being a Christian church. Our journey across Turkey ends at the foot of the majestic Mount Ararat, an extinct volcano where Noah's Ark is said to have come to rest following the flood. Glaciers crown the mountain's summit. Located at the foot of Ararat, Dogobayazit is the final large town on the main route to the nearby Iranian frontier. The Ishak Pasa Palace lies on an ancient caravan route. Dogo Bayezid is a lively town that makes its living from both transport and smuggling. Its thousands of years of history is well documented in the museum. Seljukans and Ottomans were just part of the story. Turkey, a country of many faces, with fairy tale-like mosques and palaces, legendary ancient cities and fascinating landscapes. A link between Asia and Europe, between East and West. The historic bridge between both Orient and Occident.